Get fired up this morning.
Show before the show. Good morning, everyone. This is the show before the show. And as you can see, I am not Vic Faust. I am Lizzie Sparks, and I am in for myself or Vic, however you want to look at it. And Megan is sitting in my chair.
Good
and
morning.
I love it when she's here. Vic is out today on business. Pro Joe is in the house, making us look as good as we can possibly look. Without him, the show does not go on. I don't know all this technical stuff that he does.
Oh no, we had a shot at it this morning and it didn't go so well for us.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And if you can, the show's about ready to start. If you, whatever platform that you're on, as you guys know, we're live on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and X. That's one of our phones on. Is that mine? Might be your phone.
Is it?
That's why we do the show before the show.
Do you still hear it?
I don't.
Okay.
And if you are watching this after, you can hear us on iHeart, Spotify, Apple, Google, on all auditory. So whatever platform you're on, please share it with a friend, share it on your timeline, share them on your chat, because the show just keeps growing and growing and growing. We were a year and right about January, so we're pushing a year and a half and growing and growing and growing.
Bryce, wasn't that awesome? So great yesterday.
Yeah. I've got some video of that.
Yes.
I'm excited about that. We had some good video. There's some real scary video we're going to play today, and we've got some good Trump video. We have a lot going on.
Yep.
Yeah, one of your We Love Trump videos is gone now, by the way.
Of course it is. Well, that's all right. I think I sent you two. So whatever you got,
okay,
no big deal. We got plenty of videos. Bring it in hot. We've got a great guest coming in right at 8:15. WillScharf. He is actually running for Attorney General against Andrew Bailey, who a lot of people think he's a great Attorney General. We got two really great candidates, and we're going to talk about that a little bit with Will, but we're also going to talk about what he's doing on Trump's legal team.
Yeah.
Excited.
Incredible.
I know you've got a lot of questions.
I do. How can you not? Anybody that's trying to defend Donald Trump, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
For sure.
You know what else I couldn't find, and I don't know if you could, was the illegal immigrants going crazy on all of the Americans and demanding all of the...
I've got some video of
you
that.
do?
Yeah.
I thought maybe they had taken it all down.
And maybe so. I sent it to Joe last night and some this morning. So, it's interesting how much they like to take down.
Yes. What's really going on.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, we are ready to start the show whenever you are. Good morning, everyone. I am Lizzie Sparks, and if you are seeing this or hearing this, you are listening to Cancel This, and you can find us at cancelthisshow.com. And as you can see, I am not Vic Faust. I am Lizzie Sparks. But with me today, since Vic is out, is we have Megan Moret, and she's here with us, and we are on fire talking about so many things that other people will not talk about. We are going to talk about the 7 jurors that are in what I call the fake Trump case. And we're going to talk about how unbiased they really are not. I don't know how we're going to find anybody that, likes Trump or is unbiased in that liberal city like that. At 8:15, we're going to talk to WillScharf. He is running for Attorney General against the current Attorney General, Andrew Bailey, and he is also on the Trump defense team. I'm not sure that he's actually on this team with the 7 unbiased jurors that we're talking about, but we're going to get the skinny from him. We've got a lot of video of illegals. Can you believe this? Illegals that are demanding we give them jobs. I mean, they're here illegally and they're demanding green cards and housing and food, and they think the accommodations aren't that great. We've got quite a bit of video about that. But then on the good point, we've got a lot of Donald Trump goodness coming out of all of this. Just when you think that they are going to get him, they can't. I mean, he just really is a rock star. So, I mean, I know I couldn't be one of those jurors because I would be the opposite of the people there in New York, because I would be unbiased wanting to defend him. So nobody would ever let me be on that trial. We are also going to be talking about, we always talk about good police officers, but we're going to talk about a nefarious situation that had happened. And Megan knows a lot of those details as well. And we're going to talk about a police officer, an undercover police officer, getting awarded a lot of money because his colleagues beat him up. Mm-hmm. And we're also going to talk about school boards in general. We haven't really talked about it here, but there is an area school district that the superintendent quit, and it's not maybe why you think it is. So that's a mouthful. So we have a lot of things to talk about, don't we?
There's always so much going on, and especially right now with this, the jurors, trying to find enough jurors to get into this case for Trump. And then the illegals, they just don't stop either. The pro-Palestinian, all of these, the highway blockings, and just really disrupting just American life in so many ways, and hurting themselves too, which I think is absolutely crazy. You watch some of these people who have literally concreted and chained themselves to whether it's streets,
I didn't send that
or
video,
cars.
Joe.
Oh my gosh.
I should have.
It just doesn't serve their purpose. I just don't think that it does them any good by doing these things. And if anything, it makes them look absolutely ridiculous.
It does.
So we've got that to talk about. And I'm excited for Will.
I'm really excited for Will. I know.
I think that's going to be great.
It's there's so many people that really like Andrew Bailey, and he appears to me to be really, really great. Mm-hmm. And so, but then I have, there's a lot of people that I respect also think a whole lot about WillScharf as well. Mm-hmm. And he's on the Trump defense team, and he's doing rock star things. And that's the thing that kind of aggravates me a little bit, not about WillScharf at all, but about, we have some wonderful Republicans, but the Republicans are fighting each other. And it's not really that far between now and November that, we're not really hitting at this real hard today. But what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing, I like her and I think she's doing great things, but I want her to sit down right now. Mm-hmm. I need her to sit down, because her and Matt Gaetz made a big ruckus about getting Kevin McCarthy out. Yes. And I was one of them going, good for them. And Vic's going, no. And he was right about this. And I hate it when I have to admit Vic was right, but he was, because he's like, they had no plan. And you're going to get somebody worse. And that's the same thing right now with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Sit down, girl. You have no plan for anybody better. And we had Kevin McCarthy, who we know he was rhino-ish. And then you got Mike Johnson, who's not doing anything better, and in some cases worse. And so this is the thing that I want to tell all Republicans And I get that while you're running against each other, that's fine. But when you're together and you're together there in Congress or in the House or whatever, sit down right now and work together, because if not, the Democrats, they're going to win. They already have the Senate. Now they're going to take the House, because look at all these people quitting.
Yeah, the division of the Republican Party right now is probably one of the worst things that can happen for our country.
Exactly.
If anything needs to happen, they need to come together and try to, meet each other halfway. Otherwise, the Democrats are just going to keep rolling over us with everything that's going on. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, I can appreciate her, her passion for wanting to get the right person.
100%.
I can appreciate that.
Me too.
However, I think that people are just like these protesters that we're talking about. People are going to stop listening to you.
That's right.
If you do not do things in a measured way, they're going to look at you as being super far right. Just like we look at a lot of these, yahoos running around, we look at them as being super far left. So there has to be some sort of, meeting ground.
And that's the sad part, is there is no meeting ground these days. And if you are like meeting in the middle, I'm not saying meeting in the middle with the Democrats. I'm just saying meeting in the middle with the Republicans. I'm a conservative, but I'm also a Republican. So if you are crazy right and you're crazy rhino-ish, you do have to kind of make a middle ground, because if not, you aren't taking serious anymore. And I appreciate what Matt Gaetz have done. I appreciate what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing, but I think people just want a sense of we're going to win, not that we're louder.
Yes, exactly. And the only way that you're going to win is if you play the game right. And I hate to say it like that, but it is a game. I think that we all have realized that. And she really does need to keep trying to make her points, but maybe in a different way.
That's right.
Again, not being so loud about it. And the other thing is, I love that she keeps showing up for, for everything, just trying to get Mayorkas impeached.
I do. I like that too.
I think that is so powerful. And I think that this is what needs to happen in our country. I think that people need to start coming forward and voicing what is wrong, what is happening, and what needs to change, and start calling out the people that are leading or trying to lead this country down a road of complete turmoil if we just continue to let the illegals come in and run through our country. And like you said, now they're demanding that they want different housing. The housing that they have right now isn't good enough.
Can you believe that? And we've got some video that we'll show in a little bit, but about how they're like, the conditions aren't very good. And what did they expect? And that's the thing. What did they expect? They came over here, and I guess they expected, all those immigrants, illegals. Why did I even call them immigrants? I guess the brainwashing even comes into your brain, because that's everything you hear is immigrants. They're not immigrants. They're illegal aliens. That's what they are.
Well, we're taught you can't say anything bad. You have to call them by the right names, just like we have to call all of these criminals by the right names, because we don't want to hurt criminals' feelings anymore. But it is criminal to come into our country illegally.
That's right.
And that is the bottom line. And, it's funny that you say that, because last night I spent some time thinking to myself, why do they feel so entitled? Why do they think that they should have better housing and get the health insurance and the cars and the food and voting rights, for God's sakes? So why? Well, maybe
because they're promised.
Exactly.
They get these apps and they see these apps and they're like, Joe Biden is so great. And so Joe has got one of the videos pulled up, and it doesn't matter what order, it still shows you what's going on. So go ahead and play the first video, Joe.
So I'm here in the middle of City Hall by the park, and it's been taken over by migrants from Africa, Guinea and Sudan. Hi, where are you from? Guinea?
Conakry.
You're a migrant? Are you a refugee?
Yes.
Did you come in through Mexico?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been here?
No speak English. Shumar.
Are all these people here refugees or migrants? No English?
No English. French.
Okay.
So you came through Mexico from Florida.
Hello. Hi. Hi, where are you guys from?
Yeah?
Where are you from?
Guinea, Conakry.
Are you a migrant?
Sorry, sister, I don't speak English.
Okay. From Guinea. Hello. Hi. Where are you from? Where are you from? Where?
Guinea.
Guinea? Okay. Hi. Where are you from?
Guinea?
Guinea? Are you a migrant?
Yes.
Oh, how long have you been here?
3 months.
Did you come through Mexico?
Yes.
Which state?
What?
Which state by the Mexican border? Arizona, Texas,
California.
California? Okay. Is everybody here from Guinea?
Yes.
And you guys are here today to try to get work permits?
No.
Why are you guys here today?
Brooklyn.
Why is so many people here today?
Month.
Why is everybody here? Why City Hall?
City Hall.
Yeah, why City Hall?
Okay, City Hall. September.
Oh,
September.
okay. They're all men.
Look, as far as your eye can see, they're all men, 20-ish. And then there's an interpreter right there. You can't see any women. They're all there because a lot of them, that little group doesn't seem like they want work permits or they don't want to admit it. They're there for housing, food.
Where are you from?
And I get it. It's basic needs.
Right.
We all need basic needs.
Right. And that's what they're there for. And you can't, as angry as I am getting looking at this, it's really not their fault. It's really Joe Biden's fault because people are going to go wherever they can get promised great things.
That's right. And like Bindi said, you're right. They were promised things. And shame
Yes.
on Joe Biden and his administration for allowing all of these people to come here with next to nothing, the clothes on their back and maybe a small bag of different items. Shame on you for telling these millions of people to come here and not being prepared for it, not being prepared to put them in a safe place to sleep or enough food or water or whatever it's going to be. Shame on you. So now what they're doing is they're overcrowding these cities and they're pushing the actual citizens of our United States in different states, pushing them out and putting them back down at the bottom of the food chain, which is completely unfair. We have no place, no at all, to be helping these people first before we are helping our own United States citizens. That's a fact.
That's exactly right. And we'll get back to showing more video and talking about that. It just seems unreal to me. When I see these videos, I'm like, is this really America? I mean, they admit that big group either came from Florida. They didn't even say Texas, if you noticed, or Arizona. Most of them came in through Florida or California. And so they're coming here and you know, God bless them. They weren't there causing a ruckus, but look how many were there. And that's people we have to take in.
Yeah.
So,
well, and what's interesting to me is that so many of these illegals are crybabying about their living conditions and in the housing that they're put in. It makes me wonder, well, was it really so bad before they came here? Were they really living on the streets and trying to escape persecution and their government, and it was just so bad? Or are they used to having a certain way of living?
Well, and I don't think we get the best of the best. We don't get their shining stars. We get the people we've heard over and over again that they open their prisons and they open their mental institutions. Now, I don't know about those particular people, but what they're saying, and we'll see more video later, they're not Christians coming into our America. They're Islamic.
Yes.
And so they're purposely changing the fabric of our country.
Yes, they are.
So,
yeah.
Well, and speaking of changing the fabric of our country, we have WillScharf here. And so we're so excited to see you. And I'm sure you're disappointed that Vic isn't here. And so you've got us women instead, but we're really excited that you're here.
No, I'm really great to be with you guys. Obviously, always love spending time with Vic, but thanks so much for having me.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here, and you've been requested highly by several people that are our listeners. Really wanted you to get your voice out about the things that you're doing right now. You're running for Attorney General, which is exciting, and you're also I know Megan, she's Megan, and I'm Lizzie Sparks. And Megan
I
was
will.
so excited to be here. That's kind of how
Yes.
that came out, because she has a lot of fun questions she wants to ask you about what you're doing, when you're defending Trump and all of those things. But before we dive in with questions, tell us a little bit about yourself for anybody who doesn't know you, what you're running for, and what you do when you're not running for Attorney General.
When I'm not running for Attorney General and lawyering for President Trump, I'm sleeping. I mean, that's pretty much all I have time for these days.
I bet.
My name's WillScharf. As you said, I'm a candidate for Attorney General. I'm also one of President Trump's lawyers. Before all of this, back in 2022, I guess my last job, I was a federal violent crime prosecutor here in St. Louis. Before that, during the Trump administration, I worked on judicial confirmations and nominations in Washington, D.C. I was on the teams that confirmed Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett to the U.S. Supreme Court, worked on lower court judges across the country. I've been a conservative activist and a constitutional attorney for really my whole career. And it's great to be with you guys. And it's an honor to be running for Attorney General. It's an honor to be considered. And it's especially an honor to be part of an incredible team that's defending President Trump against this completely unprecedented campaign of lawfare and election interference that we've seen in the last year.
Well, and I'm sure you've seen the 7 unbiased jurors. What do you think about that? I mean, do you really think they're unbiased? Or I don't think they are, but what do you think about that?
In that New York case, from the start, really, we've moved to have that case delayed until after the election. We've moved to change the venue out of Manhattan. And the reason for that is that with the wall-to-wall media coverage, with the saturation coverage of that case, it's going to be very difficult to seat an unbiased jury. I think we've seen that play out in court over the last couple days. I think Judge Merchan is very committed to moving this case as quickly as humanly possible, which may not be the right choice if your goal is making sure that jurors are coming into the case with fair and open minds, without preconceived conceptions about what the evidence is going to be. We've said from the start that if we can seat a fair jury here, the facts are on our side, the law is on our side. President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. So we're hopeful that we can get fair jurors on that jury, and we're excited to proceed into the evidence phases of this trial.
Well, what I'm really confused about, and hopefully you can give me some clarification on this, is Bragg's brought these misdemeanors against him, correct? But now, is he going to now come out with the federal charges as we move into this? I'm unclear of how this can happen, how misdemeanors can turn into this circus show.
Yeah, I was on Shannon Bream's show on Fox on Sunday. I called it legal alchemy. It's a very weird theory of liability. And it just goes to show, Joseph Stalin's head of secret police, Lavrenti Beria, famously said, "You show me the man and I'll find you the crime." That's what this looks like. I mean, this is a show trial, the likes of which we haven't seen since probably the Soviet Union was still in existence. The basic allegations here, this case is called a hush money case. It actually has very little to do with hush money. This is a business records case. So what they're saying happened, their allegation is that President Trump caused fraudulent business records to be entered. Those business records were recordings of payments made to Michael Cohen, who was one of President Trump's lawyers, and they were entered as legal retainer payments in the Trump's books and records. Now, Bragg is saying that those were inaccurate recordings, that in actuality, this was compensation for hush money or whatever else. And in addition to that, in order to turn this into a felony, he's alleging that the reason those business records were entered the way that they were was to cover up another felony offense. Now, he's danced around this issue in pretrial pleadings and in the indictment itself. But the basic theory is that these records were made in order to cover up federal election law violations. Now, it's really important to note that the Biden Department of Justice and the FEC both looked at that exact issue, declined to take any action, declined to prosecute. Bragg's own predecessor, Cyrus Vance, who was another Democrat New York DA, he also declined to prosecute. This case was called the zombie case within the New York DA's office because it was just sort of around. Nobody thought that it had any legs. But then suddenly President Trump decides to run for president again. And there's this mad rush to indict. And that's where this case comes from. And it just goes to show how the left has consistently weaponized our courts, weaponized our system of law and order for nakedly political ends. And I believe that's just wrong. I think it's deeply corrosive to our republic, and it's got to stop.
Yeah, I think it's criminal. I think it's corrupt in itself. And correct me if I'm wrong. Bragg's, didn't he say that Trump should have used campaign money to pay Stormy Daniels off? That's what I'm confused about, which makes absolutely zero sense to me, because if he would have done that, then he would be slapping him with charges for using campaign money, correct?
That's exactly right. These would not have been campaign expenses the way that those are defined by federal election law. We've tried to introduce expert testimony on exactly that point from eminent scholars of federal election law. And that's why this case really doesn't make any sense. But again, President Trump is going to have to sit through this trial at the height of election season. Instead of being out campaigning, he's forced to have to deal with this campaign of lawfare. When we talk about it being really all about election interference, that's what we're talking about.
Oh, it most certainly is.
It most certainly is election interference. And do you think they're really going to make Donald Trump miss his son's graduation?
You know, that was one of the most outrageous things to come out of that first day of trial. I mean, we're also at the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, next Thursday for probably one of the most important cases about our constitutional separation of powers in decades. President Trump's a defendant in that case, and Judge Merchan said he's not going to be allowed to attend arguments as he was planning to, even though that Supreme Court argument was scheduled before this trial was scheduled. So we've seen this, and we're looking at options there. I very much want President Trump to be able to attend Barron's graduation. He very much wants to attend that graduation. It's an important day in any family's life. But that just goes to show how outrageous some of these rulings have been since trial started on Monday.
Well, and as far as going to the graduation, a couple nights ago, I heard Pierce Morgan. He made this point. So as everyone was talking and everyone was saying, that that they thought that Trump should just kind of sit still, be calm. Pierce Morgan said no. He said go. He said absolutely go. Be willing to take the chance. See what happens, because everyone will back you. No one is going to say that he should not have gone and that he did the right thing. But what I don't agree with there is that we are dealing with a completely different mindset. So let's say, for instance, we're just going to talk about the left. If he goes, the left is not going to say, oh my gosh, he should have gone. You're right. This is horrible. This is communistic persecution of a candidate that's running for our country. They're not going to look at it that way. They're going to go, see, look at him breaking the law again, doing all of these criminal acts again. The guy can't do what he's told. And I think that they would use that against him. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. And, the problem is we're having this show trial at the height of election season in the media capital of the world. So every little thing like what we're talking about is being magnified, is being publicized. It's wall-to-wall media coverage. And that just raises the temperature of everything that's going on here. So instead of having a reasoned legal process the way a trial is supposed to proceed, it's going to be impossible for jurors and observers of this trial, I believe, to not be influenced by the media sensationalism around issues like that. And that's one of the problems we're going to have to deal with here. And it's one of the reasons why it's so ridiculous to be bringing this trial into court at this time.
Yes, it really is.
It really is. No, it really is ridiculous. And how, by him having to spend all this time in court, do you think that actually hurts him? Do you think people are not going to vote for him because they actually really think he's a criminal?
A vast majority of Americans in poll after poll after poll have said that they believe these prosecutions are politically motivated. I think the American people are smart enough to see what's going on here. And I think when you look at the polls, President Trump is crushing Joe Biden. I mean, 6 out of 7 swing states, big national polling lead. Demographics that have never voted Republican before seem poised to put President Trump back in the White House. I think with good reason. We've seen what America is like under Joe Biden, and we saw what America was like under Donald Trump. And I don't think any fair-minded person can look at the two and say that we're better off now than we were when President Trump was still behind the Resolute desk in the White House. I think President Trump's going to be our next president. I think he's irrepressible. He has boundless energy. We're going to get through this, and he's going to win. But to the left, it seems like the pain is the point, making him go through this process, dragging him through this process, wearing him down. That's their objective here. And the use of our system of law and order, the use of our courts and a politicized prosecution to achieve that nakedly political end, it's just deeply un-American and very scary.
It is very scary.
Yeah, it scares me all the time thinking about that they're using our judicial system in this manner.
Well, and they've just misused and abused our judicial system for what I feel like are personal vendettas. I mean, Letitia James, she could not make her vendetta any more personal. And Bragg's running. He ran on the slogan of, I'm going to take him down. I'm going to take Trump down. How much more personal can it get? And how can people not see that and think that that is fair?
Yeah, Tish James and Alvin Bragg both ran on Get Trump platforms. And it's no surprise that then they got into office and they went and have done that. I mean, Tish James's civil fraud lawsuit in New York, I mean, it's probably the first fraud case in American history where the supposedly defrauded parties testified on behalf of the defendant. I mean, all of the banks, all of the insurance companies involved in that series of transactions that they sued Trump over, they all testified on our side and said, no, these were great loans. Trump did nothing wrong. He was a great client, a great customer. And yet they hit us with a almost $500 million judgment. We're obviously appealing that now. We think we have very, very strong grounds for appeal. But in the meantime, the Trump organization has had to put up $175 million in an appeal bond just to have the right to appeal. I mean, that's all expensive. And the fact that we're having to go through that process, the fact that President Trump and the Trump organization are having to go through that process, it's just deeply, deeply unfair. And it should never have happened.
Yeah. Well, on that topic of the bail money that was made for him, I was talking to a lovely progressive left man last week, and what he said to me was that was statute, that amount of money came from the percentage of what he was being sued. So if you're sued by X amount of dollars, you're going to have to pay that. I thought it was absurd, and I could be totally off base with that. So where did they come up with that amount of money?
Under New York law, judges have absolute discretion to set appeal bonds at any number or at no number at all. I mean, the Trump organization's obviously very well capitalized, has very valuable assets. There was a court-appointed monitor supervising the Trump organization's transactions. So there's no way they could have, sold all their stuff and moved the money. Like the case for there having to be an appeal bond in this case was extraordinarily weak. And they tried to impose such a high bond that it was essentially going to be an impossibility for us to meet that number.
Exactly.
And that would have deprived President Trump of the right he has under New York law to appeal this insane judgment. That's how much they were trying to railroad us. Fortunately, the New York Appellate Division, which is not, a hardcore right-wing court by any means, they slapped Judge Engoron down. They significantly reduced that bail. We pled that, we briefed that. It was a really important win for us just to vindicate President Trump's rights to appeal that absurd judgment.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
Absolutely absurd. And I agree with you that I think the American public are seeing just such a travesty this really is. And so I think people will come out in droves and vote. But do you think we have enough that we can overcome the cheating that's going to happen?
Yeah, there was a story just a couple days ago about how some of these radical leftist groups that are helping illegal immigrants cross the border are actively advertising in Mexico. You have to get in and you have to vote for Biden. I mean, they certainly seem to believe that a lot of these illegal immigrants are going to be able to vote in 2024, which is obviously illegal. It's illegal for them to even be pushing that. And I think that's something that needs to be investigated. I have hope. I have faith. I mean, the Democrats have been trying to lie, cheat, and steal their way to elections for 200 years. It's built into the DNA of the Democrat Party. I think if we have the landslide of support that we're expecting, though, for President Trump next November, we're going to beat the quantum of fraud. We're going to have so many votes that they can't steal it. And I think that's what we need. We need every single person to turn out and vote to make sure that we can't see the sorts of shenanigans we saw in 2020 repeat themselves.
Well, and one of our listeners, Sally, she has a really good question. Are they going to sequester all of these jurors, or are they going to be seeing, everything that's going on mainstream media?
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly hope that the judge issues instructions for jurors to avoid media, to not talk about the case. We'll see about sequestration. That's a decision that'll be made likely when jury selection is finished. I don't know the answer to that, but that's what's so scary about this case being tried with this saturation media coverage. I mean, I was in New York on Monday. I helped out the trial team with a few things over the weekend. And then on Monday, I was outside the courthouse. I mean, there were more TV trucks outside this dingy criminal court in downtown Manhattan than there probably are in some large countries. I mean, it was just like walled with just truck after truck after truck. And when you have that sort of media coverage, it's tough to see how that doesn't rub off on the jurors. And the press has been so dishonest in how they've spoken about this case, constantly talking about it being a hush money case, constantly talking about all these sort of seamy details, many of which won't be in evidence, won't come into evidence because they're totally irrelevant. It's obviously intended to bias the jury, and it's intended to push this false narrative about what this case is actually about. I mean, I was on CNN doing a hit with Jake Tapper on Monday. And Jake, I never thought I'd be talking to Jake Tapper. He starts talking about, this a potential witness, and he refers to her as like a former Playmate of the Year. It's probably the only time I've been forced to laugh against my will on TV. It was just so absurd that that's what we're talking about. I mean, this is a serious case. The allegations are totally bogus. President Trump did nothing wrong, and we're talking about the 1994 Playmate of the Year or whatever. It was just so absurd. And it just goes to show how biased the media have been with everything relating to President Trump for so long now.
So in speaking of bogus, how about that letter from Stormy Daniels? When I first saw that last week, I did everything in my power to look to see if that was fake. I tried to find all the sources. I was like, there is no way that this man is in court right now for hush money, for having an affair, when this letter, is it legitimate? How in the world can this be happening when there is a signed letter statement saying that there should be no hush money because an affair never happened? What are your thoughts on that? I don't get it.
So, and I have to be very careful here because we're under this gag order.
Yes.
That Judge Merchan imposed a unilateral gag order. It applies to President Trump, to our side, but it doesn't apply to potential witnesses. It doesn't apply to the prosecution team.
Okay.
So I can't comment. It's totally unconstitutional. It's unprecedented in American history for a gag order like this to be entered. I can't comment on potential witness testimony. I will say, though, that we've consistently made the case in court pleadings that the key witnesses in this case just aren't credible. Michael Cohen, for instance, again, I can't comment on what his testimony might be. But as we've said in court pleadings, numerous previous courts have found this man to be a perjurer. And he's a star witness here. He's on TV every night. He's talking about this case. He's cutting podcasts. He's doing all of that. And we don't have the ability to respond to his allegations in the public eye. And that's what's, again, just another outrageous aspect of the way this trial is being conducted.
Banana Republic.
We've been fighting these gag orders in courts across America now. I mean, we took a DC gag order up to the DC circuit. We had a panel of all Democrat appointees, and even they stripped away maybe 90% of that gag order from that DC case because it's unconstitutional.
It really is.
In the history of the United States, no candidate for public office has ever been subjected to a gag order like what we're seeing here, much less a candidate for United States president. It's so absurd and it's so extra legal. It's just the unfairness in all of these cases is profound.
Well, and I think it should scare the citizens of our country because it's unprecedented and it should not be happening.
He might not be able to answer the question, but I can tell you, Megan, I remember the mainstream media covering that letter back when he was going through the stuff with Stormy Daniels. So that is not a fake letter.
That's right. They were covering it big time back then.
Well, so let's just take that letter and let's just throw it under the rug with all of the other truths and act like the guy is just a bad criminal, right?
Fortunately, I think that all of that evidence is going to come in at trial. President Trump has an outstanding trial team around him, led by my colleague Todd Blanche, who's a former federal prosecutor, led the violent crime unit in the Southern District of New York for many years, was a partner at a very prominent law firm. Trump has great people around him now, and I think that all of this is going to come out over the course of trial. The hope is that we seat a fair jury who look at the evidence dispassionately. And if they do that, they will understand that President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong here and that these counts should have never been brought. But with all the media coverage, with all the sensationalism, the fear is that that's going to be very difficult.
One of our listeners just asked if Stormy will she testify as a witness?
I can't comment on potential witness testimony. She's on a witness list that's been submitted by the New York DA's office. So it's certainly possible.
That will be interesting, to say the least.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, I appreciate all of this information because we don't get real truth coming out, because if you listen even to Fox News and other things, they don't have the details that you've shared with us today. You've shared a lot of details that a lot of us didn't understand was going on.
You know, it's really tough when you look at cable news, when you look at this sort of soundbite sort of media. You have 2 or 3 minutes to get your point across, and it's very difficult to explain complicated legal issues in that sort of a setting. That's why alternative media like this podcast have become so important, just in terms of informing the American people about what's really going on.
That's true, because we like to give more than just the sound bites
Sure.
that we're talking about. We want that out, and we appreciate so much that you've spent so much time with us explaining things that Megan and I both wanted explained very, very much so. And oh, go ahead.
Well, so you went to Harvard Law School.
I did.
Okay. So let me ask you this. How did you get out of there and manage to stay on the right side?
You know, it's funny. I think when you're in a setting like that, when you're in an overwhelmingly leftist setting, either it rubs off on you and you sort of get dragged in that direction, or it hardens your resolve. So there have been outstanding conservatives before me who have come out of Harvard Law School. Ted Cruz is obviously a great opportunity. Our own Senator Josh Hawley, you know, is a Stanford and Yale guy. When you see the left up close and personal, when you see what these Marxists actually believe, I think it's good training for a conservative who's going to be in the public space. But to me, I mean, the thought of being governed by the faculty lunchroom at Harvard Law School is absolutely terrifying. And that's really what we're dealing with.
That's a good point.
When you think about critical race theory, when you think about critical theory more generally, when you think about all of these crazy leftist theories that we're dealing with in a very real way in our schools, in our local government, in our state government today, I mean, that's the stuff that we considered crazy even at Harvard a decade and a half ago. And the fact that the left has been so successful in pushing the Overton window and in dragging these absurd theories into the public sphere, it goes to show how dangerous the left is. And to me, you know, that's why we're in this fight, to fight back against exactly that sort of leftist takeover of the United States.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And it's just disappointing to see how a school, you know, an educational institution can gain so much power.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing and disheartening.
Well, it's been crazy for me because actually some of our opposing counsel on a lot of these Trump cases are people I went to school with. In the E. Jean Carroll case, there's this guy, Joshua Matz, who was literally my class in law school. He used to talk quite openly about being a socialist. And now, you know, we're on opposite sides of the case here. It's kind of funny how the world comes back around that way. But yeah, you know, I spent 3 years at Harvard. I was president of our Federalist Society there. I kind of led the conservative counter-revolution on campus. I was very excited to leave. But it was a valuable experience for me. You know, I got to tangle with very smart leftists on a day-to-day basis in the classroom. And I think it made me a much better conservative, having to think really deeply about first principles, about the Constitution, about what our system of law is really supposed to be all about.
Well, and thank you for that, because that's why you are defending one of the, well, in my opinion, the best president of the United States that we've ever had, and hopefully again moving forward.
I think if we were carving another head onto Mount Rushmore, President Trump would be an obvious inclusion based just on his first term in office. I can't wait to see what he gets done in his second term.
Me too.
Me too. I'm very excited about that.
Well, and speaking of being in that seat, your seat, so you want to be Attorney General. So what would you do different? What do you see? What's the first thing that you want to do if you win this race?
I think this state has been held back by Jefferson City and by our political establishment for far too long. I think Jefferson City is totally in hock to a very narrow set of special interests and lobbyists and political insiders. And I think when you look at how red Missouri is, when you look at how conservative a state this is, the reason we don't look like Florida or Texas or even Tennessee or Arkansas is because of this Jefferson City establishment that is so resistant to any kind of bold conservative action. I think we need new leadership in Jefferson City. That's why I decided to run. That's core to our campaign. It's core to what we're trying to do here. So to me, that's number one, that if we keep putting the same people in charge, we're going to keep getting more of the same. And more of the same is stagnation. More of the same is all the craziness we've seen in our schools and in our educational system. It's the crime we're seeing on our city streets and increasingly in rural areas as well. I think it's time to change things up.
And what do you think so say you get in to be the attorney general, and we talk about here often the crime that is creeping not only from St. Louis City, Kansas City, even neighboring Chicago, and then it's coming out to the suburbs and rural areas. What would be something that you could do to help stop this crime?
Eric Schmidt had a program called Safer Streets where he put prosecutors from his office into the 2 U.S. attorneys' offices in Kansas City and St. Louis. Through that program, they brought hundreds of quality federal violent crimes charges, took hundreds of the most violent, dangerous criminals in this state and threw them in federal prison for long sentences. I think we need to be looking at things like that. I think we need to be working with the highway patrol and local law enforcement. A lot of the problem that we're seeing is cross-county crime, is people starting in the city and driving out to St. Charles and carjacking, or, drug cartels and human trafficking cartels taking people up I-44. When you have sort of granular local law enforcement as opposed to broader based efforts, it can often be difficult to tackle that sort of crime. So that's what we need. But look, the science on crime is very well settled. It's been settled since Operation Ceasefire in Boston in the 1980s, obviously Rudy Giuliani in New York in the 1990s. When you prosecute violent criminals, when you take them off the streets, you get less violent crime. It's really not that complicated. What we have in Missouri right now, though, is a system of catch and release. We have extraordinarily weak bail laws. We don't have good truth in sentencing laws. So these guys know that they can commit felony after felony after felony and never actually serve a day in prison. It's flipping that dynamic and changing that dynamic that's ultimately going to be what allows us to tackle violent crime in the state.
Well, and to stop the catch and release, does that go back to the prosecutors? Where does this originate from? Because like you said, it is a much broader picture. So where does it need to start? Like if it was up to you and I said, Will, you get to go and you get to do whatever you want today in St. Louis City. We need to bring our crime rate back down. What's the first thing that you think would need to be done?
Well, so look, there are a bunch of things. And that's the problem, that we have systemic failure across the system. That when you think about crime, you have to think about it in three basic buckets. It's policing, it's prosecution, and then it's the courts. So on the policing side, in the city of St. Louis, let's use that as an example, even though crime extends well beyond just St. Louis. In the city of St. Louis, you don't have nearly enough police officers. That means your clearance rates, the number of crimes that result in arrests, your clearance rates on crimes is quite low. For murders, it's about 1 in 2. For other serious violent crimes, it's far lower than that. That means the criminals know they can get away with it. Then you have the prosecution side. And, Kim Gardner was obviously a problem, but even today under Gabe Gore, you're seeing prosecutors, in order to move their dockets, they're pleading out cases for way lower than they should. So you have, assault ones being pled out at unlawful use of a weapon charges. You have criminals being allowed to work the system because prosecutors are chasing stats instead of doing their job, which is enforcing the law. And then the biggest problem I think we have is the courts, that the Missouri Supreme Court a couple years ago pushed out new bail guidelines that basically insists on catch and release. As Missouri has gotten further and further right, our court system has gone further and further left.
Yes.
The Missouri Supreme Court is probably more liberal today than it's been at any time since, John Ashcroft was governor. It's a really, really bad situation. So you have courts being encouraged from the highest levels of our judiciary to just cut these criminals out on bond the second they're in. So you have guys who are being picked up for serious felony offenses. They're being bailed out after 24 hours, and then they're never seeing a day in prison after that. That's not a deterrent to crime. So we need to be addressing all three of these issues. I think we need a lot more police on the streets. We need to finally kill the defund the police movement. We need to refund the police, invest in policing. Police need to know that their political leadership has their back, which is a huge problem in the city of St. Louis, so that they feel comfortable taking proactive, aggressive steps to address the crime they're seeing on the streets. We then need prosecutors who are actually serious about doing their jobs and who are going to throw the book at people who deserve to have the book thrown at them. And then we need courts. We're going to have to probably restrain some of these liberal judges from acting on their impulse just to cut people out. We need good truth in sentencing laws. We need much tougher bail laws.
Sounds like a big job.
It does.
But hey, I second that.
Yeah, I like everything that he said.
Yes.
And I appreciate so much. You've given us so much time, and I know how busy you are. And before we let you go, though, how can people get a hold of you? Where can we find your information? Where can we donate?
Sure. Our website is votesharf.com, VOTESCHARF.com. You can find me personally on basically all social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Truth Social, at WillScharf, WILLSCHARF. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah. And I did want to let you know that our listeners are, all of them keep saying that they're blessed that they would be blessed to have you as an attorney general, but also how blessed Trump is to have someone like you on his team.
It's been probably the greatest honor of my lifetime to get to fight against this campaign of lawfare against President Trump. I think we're in a crucial moment for the future of our Constitution and the future of our country. And getting to be on the front lines is truly humbling. We'll be in front of the United States Supreme Court next Thursday. We're arguing an incredibly important case, our presidential immunity appeal. And it's an honor to be part of the team. It's something I really believe in, and hopefully we'll keep on winning for the president. As you guys know, he loves to win. So
yeah, we love to win too. So
Yes.
we just want to keep winning.
You know, it was really funny when we first went up to the Supreme Court last December. Trump's appellate team, it's Missouri based. It's Missouri lawyers. Politico ran this article saying that Jack Smith, the special counsel, had hired this guy named Michael Dreeben, who's sort of an old DC hand, very prominent Supreme Court advocate. Jack Smith had hired Michael Dreeben, and Trump hired, 3 guys from Missouri, me, John Sauer, and Michael Talent. And they set us up to be the fall guys in this article. Like, oh, how absurd that Trump is hiring these Missouri guys. 2 days later, we won 9-0 at the Supreme Court and absolutely crushed Dreeben. And I called the Politico reporter, and I'm like, not so bad for 3 guys from Missouri.
That's right.
But we've got to keep fighting, and we've got to keep winning. I know how important it is to President Trump that folks get active, that folks stand up for him. It means a lot to him personally, and I think we saw that at this bodega he visited in New York yesterday. I think as he gets around the country, the size of crowds, the energy, the enthusiasm, that's what's keeping him going here. The guy's got a ton of energy, and I think he's going to be our next president. So it's exciting.
That is very exciting.
Well, when this is all over, we will definitely have to take you and Donald out to lunch.
Yes,
Me, Joe, Vic, and Lizzie.
Would love
So
that.
just let us know when
call us and
when
we'll
he's
go to
free.
lunch with you.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, Vic will even pick up the tab.
Yeah, Vic's not here, but he is listening.
Yeah.
So there you go, Vic. You'll be picking up the tab. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for your
Yes.
time. We didn't expect to take this much of it, but
Sorry.
our listeners,
No,
But you
no,
were
thanks
wait,
a
you
lot,
were
guys.
I was excited that you were going to be here. So thanks for spending so much of your morning here.
I'm on with Nina Totenberg at NPR later today, so I think this will be a much
Oh.
more fun interview than that will be.
Oh,
So I
good.
appreciate you guys.
well, it might be the first time I'm going to listen to NPR.
No, please don't.
Well, I did listen to the CNN the other night, and I loved you on Shannon Bream. I love her too.
I love
She's
her.
great. You
Yeah,
guys did great.
she was. It was my first time meeting her in person. She couldn't have been nicer. The folks at Fox have been really great to us. CNN not so much, but in fairness
do
to
you
them,
expect?
I was on with Tapper and Caitlin Collins on Monday. I think they both asked tough but fair questions, and hopefully I held it down for the team. So
Yeah, I'm sure you did hold it down for the team. And I have no doubt about that. Well,
That's for sure.
We will be praying for you as you go on NPR.
Yes.
And we'll be praying for you with everything that you're doing as well, too.
Yeah.
thank you guys so much. I really
and
appreciate
keep
it.
up the good hard work.
Got to keep fighting.
Yes,
We
we
appreciate
do.
you. All right. And have a great day.
Thanks
you,
a lot,
Will.
guys.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Well, wow. There were so many of our listeners
Yeah.
wanted him to come in here and talk.
Yes, I was so
Because
excited.
I was so excited too, because I've heard Vic really is friends with him too.
Mhm.
And so I was really honored that Vic let you and I be able to be the
Me
one to
too.
interview
Thank you
him.
for trusting us, Vic.
Yes,
with
very
Will.
much so. Yes,
Most
that was
definitely.
probably one of the biggest honors because he trusts us here when he's gone, and Vic is very hard shoes to fill. So it
Yes.
almost makes me nervous to do that. But as soon as he let us be the one to interview Will Scharf, I became not nervous. I'm like,
know.
okay, he believes in what
We
we're
were
doing here.
trusted to interview someone that Donald Trump trusts with his
Yes.
life.
Yes, and
Really.
that just said a lot. That was
Yeah.
a
What did you
lot.
think, Joe?
Well, I know when he left, he said, "See you soon." So I'm wondering what that means. Hopefully he's going to bring his friend by.
Yeah,
Well-
see you soon. Well, and he is friends with Vic, so I'm sure that he will come back again. And if we need any insider scoop, and I knew that we could get insider scoop about what's really going on, in New York and all these things that they're doing to Donald Trump. We can speculate, we can see what's going on by listening to Fox or Newsmax or OAN. But he really has boots on the ground with
Oh,
this issue.
he sure does. He knows the ins and outs of these crazy accusations being made against him, and he gets to see these judges slap him with unprecedented amounts of money for bail. And they're basically like I said last week to that lovely progressive man. There's no
like how
way.
you called him lovely progressive.
Hey,
man.
I'm sure
he's
deep
probably
down
lovely,
inside,
misguided, but I'm sure he's lovely.
deep down inside, he's got to be lovely. I just know it. He's got a great smile. He's just got a very different way of thinking. However, you just can't. They're making stuff up as they go along, and they are just so desperate to do anything that they can to keep him back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so communistic. I know that I've been using this word so much lately, but
it's true.
Oh my gosh, Putin would be so proud of our judicial system right now.
For
He
sure.
really would.
For sure.
It's like we're taking notes.
That's right. And so is, the CCP is really proud of everything that's going on. They love all this because the way to take us down is from the inside. And that's exactly what's happening. And I don't even understand the thought pattern of the left. I truly try to put myself in their shoes to see where are they coming from. And they enjoy the destruction of what was the greatest country ever. And they're like enjoying the destruction of that. When we showed the video, you can see all these people coming in and they have nothing to offer America.
Mm-hmm.
If we go to another country, we have to offer something to another country. These people that are coming in is offering us zilch.
Mm-hmm. Right. And every officer of the court, attorney generals, judges, lawyers, all of them, they are sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
They are sworn in to do the right thing and to
Mm-hmm.
keep their biases off the table.
That's
and
right.
that is not happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if people cannot see that this is completely un-American and unconstitutional, well, then we are going to keep reelecting these bozos
We are.
into our presidential seat.
And it's not fair to the immigrants either.
It
You know what I
really
mean?
isn't.
Like they
It
don't
really
know what the
isn't.
hell they're getting into.
Well, and look at this video. We have another video up, and you see all men coming in here. And the only women that you're seeing, I've seen several reports. There was maybe 4 or 5 women in that group. The only women that are there are reporters that are reporting. And look at this. This is another video. Look at this line that is going on and on and on of people that are coming here to take from our country.
Well, that's because more women have more sense than this.
Well, you would
Sorry,
hope
guys.
so.
But I mean, it is kind of ironic that it's mostly men. I mean, and that's become kind of a newer thing in the last couple months where it's been more men. I mean, there was several months there when there was a lot of women coming up with their young children.
That's right, women and children. And we're seeing, though, these big groups, they're sending their men from all different countries,
Mm-hmm.
not just this Islamic African country. They're sending all of these people here ahead of time. I don't know what they're planning to do here. I mean, many people feel that they're planning to do nefarious things to our country. Many people are thinking taking the money from here, sending it back to their country. But there again, they're not doing anything to help America. They're just not, except for vote for Joe Biden. Just like WillScharf had said, they're coming here as voters. That's what they're doing. They're not coming here to help us because they know they can't win anymore. They can't win. Donald Trump already won once. He won the second time again, in my opinion, but they cheated. I mean, whenever you stop an election in the middle of the night, and we can talk about all these movies that had it, but I mean, just think about it. Even if you haven't seen the 2000 Mules movie or any of that, you just know when they stop right in the middle of it, and they can't for days and weeks come up with an election. But yet, if you're something like America's Got Talent and you vote, and they can find out in 10 minutes, come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and there is a small, I shouldn't even say small because I really don't even know how many job openings we have in this country that we would need to take in some of these immigrants, because there are jobs that we need to have filled. but it can't be these millions and millions of people that are coming here. I'm not buying it.
Right.
And where are they placing all of these immigrants to work besides one of our great American Tyson plants and kicking out all of the,
and kicking out
all of the Americans that were there. But I'm not buying it. I just don't think that we're supposed to let all of these illegal people into our country so that we can put them in jobs that Americans don't want.
And here's another video, and it's all similar of what's going on at the city hall. And there was all kinds of reporters there. We talk a lot about Laura Loomer, but she really got in there. So if you want to, we won't continue to keep on playing all of these, but you can go to a lot of sources. You won't find them on Fox. You won't find them even on OAN or Newsmax, but people like Laura Loomer, and there are other people as well. Even Jesse Waters last night, I listened to him because his man on the street was there as well. And what they're doing is they're asking these men, primarily men, where are you from? And they're coming up through Florida and they're coming up through California. And right now, this group is Islamic Africans.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they're trying to come to our country. And I had mentioned that a couple months ago on the show where India, for instance, is.
Ooh, no, go ahead and play it. Just go ahead and play. You can play it.
They're sending people here just to try and do this exact same thing. They are trying to spread this virus of anti-American, anti-Christianity.
Yes.
And obviously you can see in the streets
from the video
that it's working. And you can see all of the people that are saying death to America that are running our streets and running around with Hezbollah and Hamas flags. It's working.
And it's scary because Christians are still the number one quote religion in the United States, but very close second is the Muslim religions. I mean, they're encroaching on us really fast. And here's the thing, and I don't want people to think that I hate people that are Middle Eastern, because that is not what I'm doing here. But what I'm saying is, if you are a Christian and you are a Christ follower and you're an American, even if you're an atheist, what you have to understand is most people that are practicing Muslims do not like you. They do not like you. And who's promoting a lot of this is the LGBT community. And there again, you think that's all cute and all, but Muslims, true practicing Muslims, do not like gay people. And the irony of all this is the LGBT community is promoting, and they're alongside often enough these pro-Palestinian marches. I mean, how stupid, and I hate to say this, but how stupid can you be that if you want that lifestyle and you want to be gay, but then you're promoting Muslim ways, that's going to change. They're using you right now.
Well, I think that we're at war, and I think that it's the conservative Christians against everyone else.
Yes.
I think it's us against all of the other religions, all of the alphabet soup groups.
That's right.
It's literally us against them. And so, we're stronger in numbers, right? So if it's going to be us conservative Christians, they just keep getting anyone on their side that will fight for all of their crazy wackadoodle agendas, as you would say, against the conservative Christians. That's just the way that it is. So they're willing to have anybody on their side.
They are. They don't care who it is.
No, recruit. If you're nuts or you have just crazy ideologies, we want you.
Well, because they know they're easily manipulated.
Absolutely.
A strong Christian conservative is not easily manipulated. So just like Will was saying, he would go to Harvard. I have two good friends that went to Harvard that's been on the show, Cortland and Chanel Rian, she was there too and was in part of the Federalist, group. There's the thing. She was even saying way back then at Harvard, they were recruiting people who were just easily recruited. Like, look, you and I were talking about this morning. We're based right here out of St. Louis, Missouri. But everyone listening here is not all from St. Louis. You're from all over the place. And Vic and I hit really hard the Dylan Mulvaney guy. And we hit really hard that, what a dumbass she is. What's interesting is that she is going to come to a Catholic, quote, Christian college and speak. And you know who's going to be there, don't you? It's the exact people that you were talking about. Either curious people like you and I who just want to go see who's all there. But the majority is going to be the pink-haired, weak, like feminazis with their boots and all that kind of thing. They're going to be there. But in the same point right there, it's at SLU campus that used to be such a great college. But remember Matt Walsh, a good,
Yes.
He was not allowed to be there.
Yes.
They kicked him off the
Well,
campus.
it has really started to move to the left. And it makes me just question again our whole educational institution. And my question, because like I told you, I definitely want to go see this Dylan Mulvaney man.
Do you think they'll let you in?
Well, you know what? I was thinking about that this morning, and I think I might have some creative ways to get a ticket to this.
You
and-
do?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my question would be, why are you here? What are you wanting to gain? What is your message? If you are so powerful and you're wanting to empower all of these people, what is your message? What are you trying to gain from this? Because like I've said many times, we have to know what we're up against. And by sitting around and go, no, I'm not going to look at that. No, I'm not going to watch that. No, I don't want any part of that. That's not going to give us what we need in order to go up against these people. We have got to know exactly what their angle is and what their ulterior motives are in order for us to fight a fair fight. So it'll be me and you front row.
Yeah, front row.
We'll have our boas on,
Yeah.
our high heels, our fake eyelashes, and
Yeah,
we're
fake
just gonna
eyelashes.
go for it.
We might have to put like a nose ring in.
Yeah. Oh
and,
gosh.
and maybe some little
I
ears and wear the combat
Okay.
boots and act angry. Because
You know,
for
well,
the most part, we're really happy people.
yeah.
But if you go there and we want to fit in, we got to be angry and have daddy
Frown
issues.
face. Oh,
Frown
yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Gotta
I'm
have
gonna make ourselves cry a little bit.
Yeah, let's cry.
We'll bring
Let's
some
cry.
lemons.
Yeah, let's
and
bring some
we'll
lemons
just-
and cry.
Yeah.
And say say Donald Trump is a rapist.
Yes.
We'll get right in.
Well,
if we
let's
go there.
you know what? Let's just start yelling out obscenities and lies.
Let's do.
You want to?
Yeah,
And
let's
we'll
just
just
start
start-
screaming. Yeah.
We'll just make stuff up about how we've been beaten and abused.
Yes,
by
yes.
who knows who.
And I will cry real hard and say this person that I know has an American flag in their driveway, and it's making me cry.
I've been oppressed.
I've been oppressed.
That's what we
yes.
need to do. Let's just make signs that say I'm oppressed. I'm a victim.
I'm a victim.
And you know what? We wouldn't even have to buy a ticket. If
We wouldn't.
came
They'd
in,
let us in.
They would. We
Mhm.
would get front row seats.
We
free,
would.
and we'd probably get backstage passes to go hang out with Dylan and have a Bud Light with him.
That's right. A lot
Right?
of people on our chat line, though, somebody's saying we'd have to dye our hair
Her.
blue.
What?
Her.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Remember,
Or-
guys, I don't play the
Her.
pronoun game. I don't. Never
But-
have,
but-
never will.
Well, see, you and I do not play that game, but if we went there and we wanted to get in, we'd have to say we're Megan and Lizzie, and our pronouns are he, she.
No,
Then-
I'm going to wear a mask with a sheep on it when I go in because
Oh.
I got to fit in with the rest of the group.
That's right.
So I'll wear a
that's right.
mask, and so it'll just sound like a mumble.
Well, and that,
Yeah,
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, we don't have to say anything, and that's what you see right now. Is you know what? That's a good point. I bet if we go there, at least half of that group, and there'll be like 20 somethings that are perfectly healthy, have a mask on.
Yeah.
And that just shows kind of the derangement.
Yeah, the
that's
masks
going on.
and
The
that's
mask right
that's the
now.
other thing is a lot of these Palestinian, pro-Palestinian, most of them are pro-Hamas,
Yeah.
but that they're showing up. They're all big and bad, and they're outside,
Yeah.
and they're wearing masks.
And they're wearing masks,
I
and they're
mean-
big and bad and screaming and yelling, and then they have masks on. You're right. They're going, oh,
Yeah, you
This is
can't even
Trump.
understand them because they've got their masks on and they're up there mumbling, looking like
yeah.
complete Looney Tunes.
They
and
really
it's like,
do.
hey, you know what? At least take your mask off so we can hear the nonsense
That's
that you're
right.
spewing.
That's right. Yeah. I want
Yeah.
to hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you know what? I would really trigger somebody if I talk like how I talk here and they've got a mask on, and I'd be, dude, he, she, him, them, whatever. Have some balls and take your mask off. And then one of them would probably go, I got no balls.
Yep.
I got
What'd you
no
say?
balls.
What was that?
I would go there and I would literally say, hey, you, he, she with the pink purple hair, have some balls and take your mask off.
Exactly.
That's what I'd say. Balls.
Mhm.
I would.
Yeah.
And then I'd ask them too. I don't know what you are because I can't look at your anatomy. I don't know if you have a penis or vagina, but all I know is you have pronouns. Whack off your penis. That's right. Now
Yeah.
you have a vagina. That's right. I think I'd get kicked right out, wouldn't I?
Yeah. Well, hey, have you seen a picture of the group of the people that Biden has protecting our country right now? All of them. I
Who?
mean, well,
Tell me
you know
about
what,
it.
Joe? I'm gonna send you a picture. It's just unbelievable. It looks like it's a Saturday Night Live skit. It truly
the
does.
whole Biden administration is a Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Saturday
I'm
Night
going to
Live
find
skit.
it.
When you literally see those pictures of who he has in his administration, you would really be shocked. I know Eric one day sent us a picture and it was Howard Cosell. And it was
Oh,
like
geez.
two people next to him that he'd be like, if he came back today, he'd be like, let me tell you a story. I cannot believe Bruce Jenner, who
Mhm.
he is. I mean, it's just crazy. If literally some of these really newscaster type people that have died come back and go, I never saw this coming.
Yeah.
Never saw it coming.
Exactly. I never saw it coming. I mean, I just talking to Will, I just cannot believe that we are living in a country right now where these things are happening. I'm just a girl sitting over here living in Missouri,
Right?
and I feel like I have so much more common sense than the people that are literally running our judicial system
That's right.
in our country. How it's just so blatantly unfair, and and then when you try to speak out against it, they either gag you or
Mhm.
slap you with another accusation.
That's right.
You cannot win right now, and I just don't think that it's a Democratic Republican issue. I think that it's a moral issue.
It is
I
a
think
moral
that it's a
issue.
character issue.
It is.
Because there's no way, there's just no way that how you vote and how you consider yourself a D or an R can
Correct.
make you that corrupt or that just not good a person.
That's right. It is. A lot of people don't like to hear this, but it is a spiritual battle that we're not winning right now.
Right.
We're not winning the battle. There's some really great conservatives that we've had on the show that are doing everything they can to fight. But just like we started into the show a little bit about what's going on, in DC with you've got a few good conservatives, but then and they're trying to fight the good fight. And they're appearing wackadoodle because no one else is listening to them. They're a lot of times making it worse because they've got to stay cohesive. But you
Right.
see many of these Republicans are out to lunch and dinner with these Democrats, and the Democrats are playing us. I mean, and we're not winning. We're not
No.
winning.
We're not. And I just really hope and pray, and I think that all of America, anybody that's backing President Trump, really needs to pray for an intervention, an intercession, if you will, because this is not going to be fair. For the next 6 weeks, this is not going to be
No,
fair.
it isn't.
We can
No, it
already
isn't.
see that the jurors that have been selected,
Mm-hmm.
go and look and read what the information that they do have for
Yes,
these
for the
jurors.
jurors.
It
Yes.
is. It's just so obvious where they sit if they were asked to vote today. It's obvious, and
It's very obvious. You even got a Disney worker.
yes,
I mean, when I saw that 7 list, and we won't bore you with that right now, you can go find who they are yourself. All you have to Google in is the 7 jurors.
Mhm.
But if you don't have time to do that, we can tell you a little bit about them. They're all not unbiased. They
Right.
are obviously liberals. I mean, and yet they're the most unbiased people. And when I
Mhm.
saw the Disney worker, I'm like,
Oh,
come
yeah.
on.
Well, and yesterday Trump was reprimanded in court because of a mumble under his breath because
All he did was mumble.
well, right, and they just established in front of everyone that
Mhm.
one of the jurors was biased. Everything about her was biased.
Yes.
And the judge said, "No, we're going to go ahead and keep her." Well, I'd be doing a lot more than mumbling. I can tell you that right now.
Exactly. And they're
So-
going in and they're looking at these people's social media. Like there was a couple that they kicked off that they were gonna have, and they were supposed to have 9. And 2 of them were so blatant because they're like, oh yeah, we're unbiased. But when you went to look at their social media, they literally had things on there like death to America.
Mhm.
And they had things like put Donald Trump in jail. It's like, and they almost picked those for 8 and 9.
And again, that's what scares me too about the next vote in November is
I
that
know.
I just people are not doing their due diligence. They're not looking into what is happening. They're just not. And
They're
I get
not.
it. It's a lot of people don't have time. And it goes for the same with our local votes here for Missouri or in your communities. People are busy. So people aren't paying attention. The last vote that we had, hardly anyone showed up. And I mean, I get it. I do. I mean, I'm busy. The last thing I want to do at the end of the day is look to see who is in the race for our local elections.
Right.
But it is so important because it starts here. It starts around us.
That's right.
And we have to start doing things within the state and then all of the states together. And, I think that, Florida continually does a great job with that. They are doing so many things right. And I think that a lot of us need to take notes from them.
I agree. And that's why it was so disheartening to me to see that these Islamic Africans are coming up through Florida. And we know that their governor is doing everything in his power to not allow that to happen. And it's still happening. So even the good governors are having to fight this corrupt administration that's really run by Obama and his regime. We know it's not Sleepy Joe. And so it's just so scary to think that's the president of the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, it just still is just so discouraging. You can, Joe, pull up some of the Trump. We have got several Trump videos. I think we probably need something good. And so despite everything that Will was talking about, despite everything you and I have been talking about, there's people that love Donald Trump. And there's people that are waiting outside the courthouse, and they're waiting outside, and Donald Trump is saying good things. Okay, this is one of the videos. Go ahead and play that from Right Side Broadcasting.
Laws are right. The whole world is watching this New York legal system. This is all election interference at the highest level. It all comes out of Washington because they're losing badly. They're losing very badly. You do know that. They're losing badly in the polls. And I think you're going to see some numbers coming out now even higher. People don't like the persecution. They don't like what's going on. They don't like these fake prosecutors, deranged Jack Smith, the whole group of them. And I think you're going to see some big changes being made. What do you think?
And I love that. You can cut that out right there, Joe. But he's going on. A lot of us have heard that he's fighting for us. And we have so much film of people there, singing the national anthem, saying America's beautiful and just cheering for Donald Trump. I mean, so as bad as things are going, here's another one. Play this one too.
Right there, Joe. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. That's all right. But we do have the motorcade.
There's Donald Trump's motorcade.
A lot of cheers coming from the crowds here. Obviously, President Trump making his way in here. Obviously, crowds coming in as the president makes his way to New York here. We got some Secret Service popping out. And we're going to listen in as we're live here in Harlem for President Trump here on a beautiful night in New York City. Let's let this play out. Let's listen in. Overwhelming crowd response with USA as President Trump makes his exit.
This does a heart good right here. Listen to the cheers.
Look at all those people.
There's as many people there for him as the illegals they had in the other part of New York.
If this were Biden, there'd be two people standing there.
Yes.
And one of them would be Jill.
That's right. He'd be sleeping. That just does a heart good. So here's his motorcade. And so just as WillScharf was saying earlier, people are seeing through the bull crap. People do not like that. You can go out there, Joe. But Right Side Broadcasting, for any of you guys who want to see the, a point of view of someone who likes Donald Trump, they go to almost all these events. And they're similar to me. I still call him President Trump. I understand he's, quote, not the president, but he was our president.
Yes, he definitely was. Yeah, I just watching this, it does make your heart feel good.
It does.
And you love to see the support that he's receiving from so many people. But, later today we'll see, Joe come out of his basement and talk and try it, just the words that he uses. And he just tries to make Trump sound so terrible and so bad. And my heart breaks because I know that there are people watching that and only watch that. And it is so biased. And I don't know if everyone that's listening, if you have an opportunity to switch over to a different network, to a liberal network, it is the best entertainment
It really is
that
good
you can do
entertainment.
because it's all made up.
It is.
I mean,
They
Joy
lie.
Reid is like
Yes.
like her own like a comedian.
She is.
I mean, the
She
stuff
is
that
so
she
funny.
says.
It's really scary, but you can do that on our network too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That is
It's so
true.
funny. If you want to see, that's true. If you want to go to CNN, MSNBC, or even on Renew Media, we do this for a reason. I've heard people go, why do you have that wackadoo left? Well, first of all, he came to us and wanted
Yeah.
the show. And so we're like, it's interesting to listen because that's all they do is lie.
They do.
They lie. And so it is entertaining to me. It used to frustrate me when I would listen to those. Now, everybody with half of a brain knows they're just lying. So every once in a while, I do switch over and I do watch it for entertainment because they get so pissed too. And just like you were talking about the people that were going to go to Dylan Mulvaney's thing, they're exactly who you think they are. They don't stand here and talk like you and I are. They're like, oh my God, did you just see that? Oh my gosh. And they just cry and they get so ridiculous.
Yeah. And I love opinions. I think
I love
that
opinions
the
too.
world is a better place because we do have free speech.
For
And-
now, well, no, we don't.
Yeah,
No,
we're
we
on
don't.
our way.
Yeah, we
to-
don't. We
to-
don't
well,
have free speech.
And welcome to cancel this.
That's
for
right.
that reason.
Mhm.
But I think that like I said, opinions are good, but if you are going to speak to a group of people, I mean, you have to have some facts.
That's right.
You really have to have some facts. I think it's irresponsible, and I think it's it just shows a lot about who you are if you are not going to take any of the facts into your conclusions of different people or just different events that are taking place. It's just not right. And that's what I see happening when I do decide to change the channel.
Yeah.
I just wonder, where in the world is this coming from?
Mhm.
If it's night, they will say that it's morning. That's how blatant it is when
It
they
is
are
blatant.
saying all these things.
It is. And you watch it, and most people probably that are listening don't watch a lot of it because they're too smart to fall for any of that. But I do encourage you just every once in a while to listen to what they're saying. And the more informed I get, the more ridiculous they seem to me.
Yes.
It's just, they're just so, I don't want to, are they all really that, what do you think? Are they all really that dumb, or do they know they're lying?
They're scared to death. Like yesterday on many of the liberal news networks, they were outright saying that today, when Trump comes out, if he starts name calling or trying to slander anyone or say anything bad about anyone, we're just going to cut him off. They don't even want their viewers or listeners to have the opportunity to hear the truth come from
That's
his
right.
mouth.
That's
So they're
right.
acting like they're gonna melt. They're all just made of sugar. So if anybody has anything bad to say, or if he's gonna lie, they're just gonna cut it off. I'm sorry, but that is not journalism. You do
That's
not
right.
have a right to pick and choose what you want people to see. So if you don't like what someone says, you are just gonna simply cut off the video. Well,
Mhm.
you're not doing anyone a service. You
Right.
look like a total goofball. And your listeners, if you're going to be a journalist or in the media, you owe the people that are watching, you owe them the truth. That's the way I feel about it. We're obviously not living in that kind of a culture right now.
Well, but like Brenda is saying on our chat line, that they, meaning the left, they think we are the stupid ones. They really do. They do think we're stupid, but I don't understand how they can think we're stupid other than they're doubling down on their own pride, even when they see the truth. Because there are some people for sure, and cancel this, it will definitely do this. We will call out the Republican conservatives too. So, and we'll call out ourselves, because there was a time there'll be a candidate I didn't like, and then that candidate proved me wrong. And I'm like, okay, they are working for us. But that's the thing that I kind of envy about the left. They just will double down on how wrong they are, and they stick together, where we conservatives often don't stick together. And that's why we're so fractured. And at the very time, we should not be fractured.
Mhm.
And it's even at the local level. We were talking about, a week ago or so about the school boards and how in the St. Louis metropolitan area, but this happened all over the United States, the conservative candidates did not get elected. The Democrats, they stick together as dumb as they are. And at the local level, now this is going to shock some people, I think. At the local level, the Democrats don't act as outrageous as some of the conservatives do. Some of the conservatives have well-meaning points and they're so great, but they go off batshit crazy with emotion about, and very much I agree that everything that they're saying, that we don't want furries in our bathroom. We don't want these unisex bathrooms with girls going in there with guys. I get all that, but you have to do it pragmatic. And they're telling us right now all across the United States, the reason why the conservatives didn't win was because the NEA has more money and more time. That's only part of it.
Yeah.
That's
Most
only part of
definitely.
it. It's a lot of the conservatives have their kids in Christian schools, so they don't vote. That's number one. People are forgetting because they're tired of the insanity in the public school systems. Number two, they're just as tired is the wackadoodle right that are probably right in their policies, but they seem so unapproachable because they act so ridiculous.
Yes.
And so, like in the Wentzville School District, they have so many problems going on. And the reason why I'm using that is a very conservative area that has the biggest wackadoodles.
I think it's starting to flip.
Oh, it's yeah. I mean, it is starting to flip. This is indicative of so many areas. They've had two superintendents that are so left wing, but instead of coming at them pragmatically, it's turning the teachers. And it was best said by the state rep in that area, which is Trisha Burns. She said something that everybody in America should hear. You need to stop politicizing our schools, even on the right side.
Yes.
And that's what happened is our conservatives came in and said, I'm a conservative and I'm going to get elected. So that's even turning off some Republicans. If you are in the public school, you shouldn't be talking about politics at all. And so, as Trisha Burns was saying, that is making the teachers have to go political one way or the other, or they're ostracized. There's no way to just go in and teach little Johnny first grade how to read without either having to tell him, little boy, you could be a girl and you could pee in the litter box if you want to, or the other extreme to bring in religion there and say, I'm a conservative Christian. Let's bring Jesus in the classroom. As much as I love Jesus and my kids go to Christian school, I wouldn't want to put them in public school and have somebody there that could be a wackadoodle that doesn't even understand Christ teaching my kid in public school.
Right.
Keep it out. And that's the travesty of what's going on all across the United States in our schools.
And the gender dysphoria and the hypersexuality of children has all become political in the schools as well. And just like so many other issues, it's not a political issue.
Right.
And they have made it a political issue. And it's so much bigger than that. And people just keep cowering down to all of these different issues when it doesn't belong in the schools. It truly does not belong in the schools. And I wish that teachers, administrators, and adults, just adults, you need to start being responsible and do the right thing and start protecting our children. And there's so many different laws and stuff that are protecting all of these children that are not in the norm. Okay. And that's a fact. There are a lot of children that are not in the norm.
That's
they
right.
fall under many different categories. But what's wrong with protecting most of the children? What's wrong with protecting children that aren't experiencing any major dysphorias or
That's
identity issues? What's wrong with allowing them to grow and continue to grow healthy?
That's right.
They now have become the minority, and they now at these young ages, they are being told that they have to mold their young minds that aren't even developed yet, that they have to mold into trying to understand all of these crazy, I am calling it crazy because it is. This is based on facts. They are crazy ideologies. Most of them are temporary, and yet they are forcing our children to rethink
That's
and
right.
rewire their brains.
That's
It's
exactly
unfair.
right, Megan. Joe and I were talking about this along with Vic, that a lot of these kids, look back to when you were in junior high. We called it junior high back in the day, that there would be kids that you might have thought, oh, that girl's cute. That boy is cute if you're a guy or a girl, but you didn't think you were gay. And even if you did, it was so fleeting of a moment that it went by that you didn't have to worry about, okay, am I gay? Am I not gay? Am I a furry? Am I a tarantula today? If I think I want to be it. I mean, when you were little kids, it was okay to be Batman. It was okay to be Cinderella. It was okay to be a fairy. Now that's who you really are.
Right.
You really are that little fairy, which means you must be gay.
Right. Well, and if you do feel like that you're a tarantula or you are confused about your sex, why are they allowing these children with these major identity issues to be talking about this every day with the general student body? I can tell you right now, my kids don't want to hear about it. They don't want to hear that they think that you think that you're a tarantula for that day.
That's
or
right.
you think that you're a mushroom or the tooth fairy or whatever it is. They want to go to school. They don't want to be distracted. They're trying to get their grades right so that they're not, getting everything taken away from them when they get home or grounded. They just want to go and get things right. And I think it's really irresponsible that they allow these to be general topics and up for discussion in a school, especially, primary school and middle school. There's a time and a place for these types of discussions. And if it is genuinely an issue for these children, which it does exist, and I genuinely hope that these children can find the help that they need, but they're not going to get it from running around school and telling all of the other children about their body parts or about their tarantula legs or about their pee-pee or their whatever.
That's right.
That you're not going to get anywhere doing that. Schools need to have someone on hand that is able to talk about these things. It's serious. I mean,
it is serious.
I would be devastated if my child came home and told me, I have 3 sons. If one of them said that they felt like they were a girl, it would be crushing. Would I still love them? Absolutely.
Of course.
It would be devastating. And I can tell you right now that I would be so disappointed and so sad if they went to school and felt like it was an appropriate place to just go talk to other students about it. Find a counselor, find a teacher. There needs to be a place for that. And it's not just to run around and act like it's no big deal. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And a lot of people are saying that there's a bigger thing here. It's children today. Like I had my daughter come home when she was in 7th or 8th grade, and she does go to a Christian school. And she said, Mom, why is it cool for some kids to come to school and say that they have anxiety now? Why is it a big deal to say that they're depressed? And I said, honey, I went to school in the 80s. And what's interesting about that, I never heard the word anxiety or depression ever. Never heard those words. And she was telling me that there was a girl or two that were really wearing it like a badge of honor to have anxiety, which led into depression. And then voila. And I said, honey, is she acting different than everyone else? She goes, yeah, Mom, she wears this chain around her neck that the teachers ask her not to wear. And the next thing, for a while, she was the furry. She was like the only furry in the school. And I said, this all links to, you can't even really blame the teachers for that at that point. Because even if you've got some wackadoodle teachers, as I call them, and most of them are great. So this is not me bashing educators, because I was an educator for many years and most of them are lovely. But it does start at home. So even if the teacher is saying, okay, today we're all going to have tarantula legs and we're going to have a litter box for the tarantulas today, and we're all going to live in a cage, a kid from a strong home is going to go, that teacher is crazy, and come home and probably tell you about it. It's the poor child from probably abused household or a very uninformed, unenlightened, crazy mama or daddy or whoever it is. And so it still does. People in our chat line are saying, we're putting too much onus on the schools, which we are, because the schools are the one promoting it. But if you have a strong home, your kid is probably not falling for that.
Yes, exactly. And Todd brought up a great point. You do have to be cautious of the counselors and the teachers and educators. You do, because as we have seen, there are a lot of people that are on board with this agenda. So you do, but as a parent and someone who I grew up, I loved my school. I felt like I did have trusting adults that I could go to. So I like to think that if if a young child was going through any of these issues, that there would be someone that was there that would truly want to do the safe and healthy thing for them,
Right.
not try to push something that they are getting some enjoyment out of seeing. And I think that that's part of the educators that are trying to hide all of these things from kids' parents,
Correct.
because that is happening too. I don't think that that's right. But, we can always just wish and hope that adults will do the right thing for
Well,
our
and
kids.
I agree with Todd on that too. You got to watch the counselors because some are really great
Mhm.
and others are the ones that also had issues. So then they go into psychology and become a counselor. I've been leery of school counselors ever since 6th or 7th grade because I had a next door neighbor who listens to the show quite often as a kid. And we just wanted to get out of class. I'll never forget it. We had a boring history teacher. So we asked to go see the counselor.
Mhm.
So she and I went in their counselor, and it makes me laugh now, but it showed how stupid that counselor was. We made up stories. I remember thinking it was funny making up stories that my mom was dating her dad and her dad was dating, and the counselor was a man and he was really sweet. And he's like, well, honey, that you probably shouldn't worry about all that. And he was just trying to talk to us. And we would leave and go out in the hall and laugh our butts off about we got out of class and have that poor counselor worried about us, our parents having an affair. And years later,
Oh my gosh.
we ran into the counselor and the counselor goes, oh, your parents are still married? And I'm like, oh yeah, I lied to you all that time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I mean,
Lizzie,
I did. It was me.
you
Yeah.
will
Yeah, I
double
did. I was like
you.
in 7th grade.
Making up stories.
Making up stories. We
Yeah.
thought it was funny, but it wasn't just, it became a mockery. It wasn't just us. It wasn't
Mhm.
even my idea. All of the kids on our track team and our football team, we all decided to go play one on over the counselor because everybody thought the counselor just was a sad sack.
Oh my gosh.
So
You
I wonder
guys.
if the kids today would even think to do that. Like the kids that really didn't have anxiety or depression to go in there and talk to a counselor like that. I think it would be kind of fun now to do that as a kid and see if they tried to tell me it's because I was really a guy or it's because I was really a furry or had tarantula legs.
Yeah.
I
Well,
wonder if they'd say that now. I don't know.
well, he would probably buy you a aquarium of some sort that you could, if you felt like you did
Yeah.
have tarantula legs,
Yeah.
you could dip one of your legs in
Mhm.
there at lunchtime just
Mhm.
to, make
Yeah.
sure that you were still feeling confident about that decision.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that would be good.
Mhm.
Well, and John is saying, gosh, and I don't agree. I do agree with you, John. It says one issue, including us, is that we're constantly bringing it up.
Yeah.
And that is true. Maybe if we just chose to ignore it, but we were ignoring it. With my kids, it's not been an issue because I do bring it up to him and to all of my kids, but on an everyday basis, I don't because my kids aren't furries. My kids are
Mhm.
minding their own business, playing in sports and
Yeah.
hanging out with friends, and that nobody's a furry.
Yeah, but I think that it's interesting that Bailey is going to sue the school district
Yes,
for
yes.
this reason. And
Correct.
so,
Well, and that's why the superintendent, people don't understand that there's a lawsuit against the Wentzville School District that our attorney general is bringing up against that school district. So she was basically knowing she was going to be at the center of that lawsuit. So people are saying no one pushed her out. She said she wanted to go out, but she was at the center of that lawsuit. And the lawsuit is primarily keeping this information from the parents.
right.
So she was going to have pressure to be gone, so to speak,
Yes.
anyway, because if
She bowed out.
leaves,
She
bowed
put her
out.
head down and she said, look, it's going to start getting really hot. I'm
Really
just going to
hot.
put my head down and I'm going to go ahead and leave. And it is, it is issues. It's one of the big issues is the gender neutral bathrooms and them people having these discussions about it, the school boards having discussions about it. However, the people that they know that are going to go against it, they are doing it without them. They are going and they are doing a lot of these things privately. And that is where the law comes in. We've got a Missouri sunshine law. So things are supposed to be public.
Yes.
And that's why Andrew Bailey wants to go after them because it's not right. It's not fair. And the things that should be public should be public. And why we are even having these discussions about the restrooms, I'm not sure. It's just really upsetting that, again, not to beat a dead horse, but that these children are making such a big issue about where they're going to go and relieve themselves. All I keep hearing is our children just want to be normal. They just want to be mainstreamed. They don't want to be the oddball. Yet all eyes are
on
on
them.
these kids.
Yes.
Who's
they're
doing
doing
it? Are
it
the
for
kids doing it?
attention.
Are the parents doing it? Is it all of them doing this? But if you
It's
are
social
wanting to
media, too.
normalize your child,
Mhm.
you're not doing that. You're not doing them any good by promoting this craziness and letting them be seen. Oh, well, my kid that just wants to be normal. Now, everyone in the whole school district knows about him because he talks about how he wants to go into the girls' restroom. Well, if it's going to be an issue moving forward, then maybe, because this cannot keep happening. The distractions to the other students is not fair. Just do onesies. Just do a few onesies. And if you're a boy
That's
or a
right.
girl,
That's right.
just go in and call it a day. We don't need to call it gender neutral. We know what it means. We know that when there's a boy stick body next to a girl stick body and it says restroom,
then go in there.
we know what it means. We don't need
That's
to
right.
talk about it. Go do your thing and quit talking about it.
Yeah. And
That's how
agree
I
with
feel
Terry.
about it.
I think it's the opposite. They want attention. Their parents maybe don't want the
Gee.
attention. I don't know, but why would you be doing that? There would be no other reason for you to be doing it other than you have a mental issue going on or you want attention. You're just doing it for attention. And then that's where the depression, the anxiety and all that continues to get worse because that's just not the normal thing. I mean, your body knows who it is. And when you try to change it, you're not going to be happy about it. I mean, you're just not going to be happy about it.
Mhm.
And it's just a travesty. And going back to when you were talking about the AG suing the districts, more AGs across the United States need to do what Andrew Bailey did, because if these school districts do not get sued,
It will continue.
And it will continue. And
It definitely will.
even if now that lawsuit stops, and I don't know the details about if that lawsuit in Wentzville is stopping now, but it got one of the biggest problems gone.
Yes.
She
If
left.
anything, the attention was made to it. And
Yes.
now they're saying that they are going to do everything that they need to do to abide by the Missouri Sunshine Law.
Correct.
And if that's what it took, I'm grateful for that.
Me
And I
too.
think that all of the other schools need to, follow right behind that and know, hey, if we're not going to do things the right way and we're going to keep creeping around and trying to do all of these
right.
things behind parents and the public's back, well,
Mhm.
somebody's going to come for you. And like you said, Lizzie, maybe that's what should happen.
Yes. And I think these powerful people like our attorney general, and yesterday we had on David Gregory, and he was talking about, putting pressure on people too by having to sue, our municipalities and things like that. And it's not that we want to be sue happy, but that's the only thing that wakes people up. If you get a knock at the door and you're served, you're going to do one of two things: double down and fight back, or if you know you're wrong, you might back off. You might back off. Now, I'm not talking about the Joe Biden situation. That's a whole nother level of what
Right.
I'm talking about the everyday people in your state.
Yeah. Well, and Jeannie, were you saying that you're surprised that the children at the schools aren't just wearing diapers so that they don't have to go into the restroom, or were you referring to Joe Biden?
Probably both.
Just wondering.
Yeah, probably both. Yeah, Joe Biden, wears Depends.
Oh, gosh. I mean, you'd think so. I mean, the guy can't find his way to the restroom
That's right.
unless
That's
he's
right.
got the Easter Bunny with him.
That's
And then
right.
The Easter Bunny can.
Thank God for the Easter Bunny.
Oh, goodness.
Good.
Wouldn't you just love to be one of the handlers?
Yeah, I would love to be the Easter
Oh,
Bunny and handle Joe Biden.
Gosh, that would
Uh-huh.
just be a crack up for me.
That would be fun.
I mean, oh, goodness.
Could you imagine being the Easter Bunny and trying to corral Sleepy Joe? I mean, could you even imagine? I'm not sure I could. I think I would get exposed because I would say something to him in my costume.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
say
Joe, what's the matter with you?
Yeah.
We just talked about this 25 times.
Yeah.
You have 2 steps to go down and go to the right.
Yeah.
We don't have an X on the spot for you. Just follow me.
I would really like to see what medication he's on, because he's on some medication that helps his brain, because you see it wear off in his meetings.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if you go back to
Called cocaine.
Called cocaine.
Right.
Well, it probably was
something
Joe's
of that
cocaine
nature.
in the White House.
But even just to go back to 2020 and watch him do interviews.
Yes.
And I thought it was bad then. I
Yeah.
really did. You could tell that his cognitive abilities were going downhill.
That's right.
And everybody tried to blame it on his childhood slur. And so many people, do you remember that? If you
I
said
do.
one thing about him,
You
were
were
told
making-
that you were making fun of him.
Of his stutter.
I mean, give me a break.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, the decline that has taken place between just 2020 and now. It's unbelievable. In fact, I was watching one of his interviews last night and I kept having to go back and go, 2020, this is 2020, because
Yeah.
I thought that it was even before earlier than that. And yeah, he's just really gone downhill. And it'll be interesting. I still think that Gavin Newsom's they're going to put him on the hot plate at the last minute.
Yeah, a lot of
really
people do
do.
that. Eric from day one
Yeah.
has been saying that he thought
too.
that was going to be the case. I even see, was it Tommy Lahren? She is been saying too that it's going to be Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
And
he's quiet now all of a sudden. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
You noticed that? All of a sudden he's real quiet.
Real
People started
quiet.
talking about him a lot.
Yeah.
And I think what they're afraid of is if they were to say tomorrow, we're announcing the Democratic candidate for the race and it's going to be, Gavin Newsom, that gives us way too much time.
That's right.
To dislike that guy and to go back and watch what he did during the pandemic.
Right. People have a short memory. 2020 for some people was a long time ago and they don't remember all the shutdowns. I don't know how people can't remember them, still be angry about it, but they don't.
Oh, it was terrible. And just the hypocrisy of what he was saying. He would tell the people in his state that they could not do one thing. And it wasn't just a few little things. Those kids did not go to school for a long time. And the lockdowns were outrageous. Yet he was off doing whatever he wanted to do without a mask, going to restaurants, being with his friends, being with his family. And that was so gross.
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
I think that they just want people, I think right now they are feeling like the people that are going to vote for Joe Biden are only going to vote for Joe Biden because A, they feel sorry for him, or B, because they hate Trump that much.
Well, that's the only reason that they would. That is the only reason. But I still think my gut is telling me that I think they're still going to just prop him up and run. But it makes so much sense that you said that they're going to wait to the last minute because people do have a short memory. Our listeners, they don't. They absolutely know how awful he is and they don't like him. But the average person, I mean, if you get out of our little bubbles of conservatism and you go out and you talk to other people, even if they're right wing or if they're left wing, they may very well vote for Gavin Newsom, not remembering what he did to California because they're just not informed.
Yeah.
They're absolutely not.
And let's be honest, he looks presidential.
He does.
He is an attractive
man.
Is. He's young. And he's well put together. But as soon as he opens his mouth, and a lot of people aren't going to pay attention.
That's right.
He is angry.
He is
and
angry.
he lie after lie after lie. He would be a great co-host on The View.
He would be
the same mentality
yes
as those women on The View.
Absolutely. And he can't open his mouth because Ron DeSantis actually just cremated him in the debate.
Yes.
So, I mean, and Ron DeSantis, I like him. I do. But he just looked so bad trying to run against Donald Trump in this period of time. But the same thing, people might have a short memory that maybe in 2028, when he should have waited, maybe people would vote for him then.
Yeah. I was a big Ron. I mean, I knew from the start that I was going to, back Trump.
Me too.
But I love Ron DeSantis.
I do too.
And, I would like to see him as a president someday.
I think he'd be great.
But right now,
they made him look so bad.
Well,
he could not run against Donald Trump.
You're right.
You can't.
Well,
who
cannot
do it?
I mean,
no one
right?
can run against him.
The proof's in the pudding. We, all of the primaries showed that, Trump's the guy.
That's right.
But I think that DeSantis is exactly where he needs to be right now. I think that he's, in the right state. He is really, just leading a lot of these movements, not just for the illegals, but still he is just really leading the movements of protecting children and making sure that the right things happen for the kids. So I really am pleased that he is there. And like I keep saying, I just think that so many other states need to follow suit and need to take notes and observe what he's doing and how he's doing it. And he's unashamed and he's unapologetic. And that's what I love about him.
Me too.
And he's getting things done. He's not just talking about it. He's getting it done. And I love that about him.
I do too. I love that about him. I still think though, even if they don't cheat, even if they put Gavin Newsom in, which I'm going to say, I don't think they're going to, but you and Eric could very well be right there. I still think that Donald Trump, if they don't cheat, just beats him soundly. soundly. I mean, the
If
only
they
way
don't cheat, we need
right,
we need
if they
bumper
don't
stickers
cheat.
that
Right,
say if they don't cheat. That's it's going to happen. I
You
don't
know
know
it
how
is.
much. If in like you said, we all have short-term memory loss.
And we
If you
forget what happened even 2 years
Yes.
ago.
If you go back and you look at all of the different things that happened in so many different places, it was just crazy. I was like, okay, they're going to get this figured out. They're going to figure out why the power went out in this polling place. We're going to figure out why this place flooded. We're going to figure out, how the tooth fairy came in and, deposited 4,000 ballots, after hours. We're going to figure it out. And we didn't. And it just keeps getting brushed under the table. But to make it even crazier, then after all of that, you've got people like Fani Willis that are going after Trump because he's trying to say that the election was not fair.
Right.
Are they going to go after all of us that said that the election was not fair?
Well, they sure would if they could. Look at J6. I mean, they sure would go after us. They absolutely would. And, I'm agreeing with my friend Gary on the chat line that I hope this time they can't cheat enough and large enough numbers this time to cheat, because they were cheating in 2016. That's why Hillary did not go out and campaign. They knew they were giving it to her. That's why she cried and screamed and carried on. And you know what she was crying and screaming and carrying on was to her own people. And she was in inner circles going, you guys said I had this. We had it in the bag.
Yeah.
How did he do this? And we all knew that was going on. And then they cheat in 2020. But this time, I think all the stuff they're doing is backfiring. That's why they're bringing these illegals we showed earlier in the show in record numbers, because they can't cheat enough this time, because we know what happened. We're all going to stand up. There are so many closet Trump voters. There's people that are going to tell you to your face, I could never vote for Trump. And they get in there and go, you know what? I had a 3% interest rate on my house, and now I have a 7. Now that bag of Doritos was $1.50, and now it's $5.75. Things have gone up over half to 75%. I can't afford my car insurance anymore. I can't afford my house insurance. My gosh, the crime is so much bigger. They're going to go in and they're going to vote for Trump. And there's so many people that I know are going to do that, but are not going to admit it.
Well, right. And those people, hopefully, if they remember that when Trump was in, we were at 1.4% inflation.
That's right.
Biden's in, it goes all the way up to 9%. But again,
9%. Did you hear what you just said?
9% inflation. Okay. But Biden will tell you that he came in and brought everything down. His math ain't mathin'. And I hope that people pay attention enough to know that he is just blatantly lying. The facts are, since he has been in office, things have gotten really bad. Inflation has gone way up. He likes to say that he's created all these jobs. These jobs are the ones that people had before the pandemic. We all know that. So the voters, again, they just really need to make sure that they are paying attention. And hopefully maybe some of them do, Lizzie, and they do go in and they got their closet ballot and they don't want anybody to see them. And remember how good things were.
Well, and I know a lot of union workers that even in 2016 told me, I am going to vote for Trump, but I'm never going to admit it among my union brothers. Then in 2020, even more people came out that were union and said, I don't care what my union brothers are saying. And then you still got that small minority, I think, that could even go for Joe Biden. I mean, they can't. I mean, I see the elitist type might vote for Joe Biden, but the average everyday person, it hits their pocketbook too hard.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because my mom will say to me at least once a week, she'll go, oh, honey, what are we going to do? Do you think Joe Biden's going to get in? Is Joe Biden going to get in? Do you think he's going to get in? So my parents, being the age that they're at, they have had to dip into a lot of their savings.
Oh, God love them.
Just to help, for them to do things. And they are St. Louis County residents. And man, I hope that Sam Page, I hope he gets taken down by Dave.
He does.
I really do.
That was, the guests we've had on the last 2 days are really fighting the good fight. And David Gregory, he is the real deal. And you know what I learned from him when he was on a couple weeks back? I didn't realize St. Louis. I knew St. Louis County had turned very blue. If I never knew it before, I knew it, during the pandemic with all the BLM signs all over the place and maskers everywhere. And then you'd come over into our county and nobody had a mask on. But with Sam Page doubling down, I am so glad David Gregory is going after him.
Me too.
But I just didn't realize that his is the only district that is Republican, that St. Louis has turned.
Cori Bush is St. Louis County, isn't she?
Cori Bush is the city.
Well, that's what I thought too. But if you look at all of the 8 reps, it says she's under St. Louis County for some reason.
Maybe she's in North County, North City as well.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think she's in North City, both in North County.
Yeah.
And I hope Wesley Bell, for anybody that's not in St. Louis, who we're talking about is we have the most obnoxious, truly left-wing, and she is not intelligent at all. And she's embarrassing.
Yes,
when
she really is embarrassing.
And she's running against another Democrat. And I have no illusions that he's anything but a Democrat, but I hope he still beats her. At least he won't be that embarrassing to us. And he is somewhat reasonable.
Yes,
for sure.
Well, the bottom line is I feel like at this point that anybody would be better at representing us than Cori Bush.
100%.
And the interesting, have you ever looked at all of the different accolades that she has behind her name? One of them being pastor.
That is, you know what? I love having the Black people on the show that are saying the number one problem in the Black community is the Black clergy. It's the Black pastors.
Well, but are you a pastor? Did you go to Bible school, or are you just calling yourself a pastor because you say you believe in God? That's what I want to know.
Many of them, like I can marry you right now because I did someone's funeral and I got an online minister license. So I'm a minister too. I'm Minister Lizzie Sparks.
Yes, because
I didn't go to seminary.
Yeah. Well, she speaks in front of Congress, and the last thing that you would think that she should have behind her name as pastor, she is very one-sided. She is not for all people.
Nice.
She is outspoken, and she has absolutely no problem acting like she hates white people.
That's right. She does hate white people.
She does. And that is so sad to hear, because she is one of the 8 representatives that we have that are in the U.S. Congress, and she gets up there and speaks like that. And all she does is she wants to keep backing the people that are doing wrong.
That's right. That's exactly right.
One of the mind-scratching things for the day.
Did you send a picture to Joe before we leave?
No. I couldn't find it.
Well, what was it? What was it?
Well, it's just let me give it one more round.
Well, so
real
just
quick.
Put it up to the camera.
Yeah,
okay, let me see.
Just send it.
You can just put it up and I'll zoom in on you.
Yeah, just put it right up to the camera.
And Lizzie, just FYI and fun fact, I'm an ordained minister as well.
Well, cancel this has 2 ordained ministers.
So if you sneeze and I say bless you, it means something.
That's right. That's right. There you
feel
go.
Super holy right
now.
Don't
you? Because you have 2 ordained ministers right here with you.
Joe, you know what? You never cease to amaze me.
He amazes me all the time.
You're always coming up with something. Joe could be the key to my essential health, that I'm not that I'm unhealthy, but Joe is giving me some of these tips. Are you doing the lemon juice water?
I already do the lemon juice water.
Wow. Well, Joe, you really turned me on to something.
Yeah, I love it.
So hopefully
almost every day, like there's some lemon juice in my water.
Yeah. Well, it's 1/4 cup. Did you know that?
I know. I did do 1/4 cup.
Yeah. You're supposed, if you want it to like really clean your liver and your kidneys.
Okay. I don't do
health.
that much. I just squeeze it in there a little bit.
Yep. So I got 3 huge bottles of lemon juice delivered to my front door the other day. Fresh squeeze. I'm not sure how that works because I got it through Amazon.
Well, it's not pasteurized. It's not from concentrate. It
has to be real.
There's no
lemon
added
juice.
Water. Yes. It is literally fresh.
And let me tell you something. It is tart.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Wowza.
Yeah, it is.
But
yeah, it is.
Well, anyway, I know that we're running out of time, but I will find that picture for y'all. I'll bring it tomorrow.
Bring it tomorrow.
That's what
Megan
do.
will be back.
I'll be back
tomorrow. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, a special thanks to Pro Joe. Most people wouldn't pull off what he pulled off today. If you want to say what happened, you can, or you don't have to.
I was in a car accident on the way here, and I made it in enough time to get us on air.
Yes, he absolutely did. And I'm passing him on the road, and I'm like, wait a minute. was that my Pro Joe right there on the side of the road? And so I called him, and not only did he get us on the show, I tried to help a little bit and messed up the TVs and messed up the computer. So not only did he have to come in here and get the show ready, and we started it, right on time. We didn't really we did the show before the show, but we did it right at 8. But he fixed up my messes too, on top of everything else. So, I mean, if anybody had any doubt how great Pro Joe is, now you know. I think everybody does know how great he is.
You are.
And
I'm glad you got here in one piece.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too. Well, we love you, Pro Joe, and thank you very much for everything you do for Cancel This. And Megan, everybody loves it when you're here. They think it's so great. And thank you to Vic Faust, who did chime in and saw and thought we did a very good interview. I don't know, he thought we were good. He just thought WillScharf was great, which he was.
We gave it our best shot. Lizzie.
We did. So that is it for Cancel This today. And Megan and I and Pro Joe will be back tomorrow. Vic will be back on Friday along with Eric and I think maybe Kelly. But everybody have a wonderful day today and keep a smile knowing that your heart is good and that you're a conservative, and go talk to a liberal today and enlighten them.
Yes. Happy Hump Day.
Happy Hump Day.